All right, we are recording. Welcome to the Downtown Management Commission meeting. It is July 15th, 2025, and I will call roll. Eric Dahl. Here. Justin Calvin.
Present.
Ron Poe.
Here.
Andy Nathan and Stephanie Trees are not present today. And I will now hand the meeting over to Kimbo for the items.
So first we have the meeting minutes. Would someone like? I don't remember if I could move or second. So would someone like to moving on them?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Is there any public? Who are they approved? Do we have any public in attendance, Bobby?
There is no one online for the public.
Great. So next we have then the consent agenda, which we will not discuss unless people have questions. If any of the members have questions to the consent agenda?
Nope.
No. I had one quick question. Bottom of page 1 of the consent agenda, central pages. Supplemental vending cart program applications to fill vacant spots. In the past, we've always had full use of the full licenses. Do we have some, are we not full right now?
We are not full right now. We have 2 vacancies, and so we got 2 applications actually. Brian Callahan, our district technology specialist, is currently reviewing those applications. One is Jar Chocolate. It's like a chocolate part of sort of hot chocolate in the winter, and I think chocolate cold brew in the summer, and then an empanadas part as well.
Well, who did we lose to have vacant spots?
Oh, good question. I will be. I'm gonna have to circle back with you. Sure, I can do that this week.
Well, and then I did see that there was kind of a action item in here. That in curbside management, balance town management mission. To Chris Hagelin, they're looking for staff, are looking for 1 or 2 commissions to serve as project liaison, but I'm assuming that meant commissioners. Not commissions. We need to do anything with that?
That came from Chris, Hagelin, in transportation and maintenance, ability to be. I know that he's gonna be reaching out, to commissioners to liaison, I'm not sure when, but I will find out.
Well, do you know if that would be before our next meeting?
I believe so. It was, sorry, I was just seeing the meeting minutes for you came here.
Yep.
It's like August, maybe.
Does anyone, do either of you have the burning desire to participate in that? Can anyone here explain that? I can read what's written here. Does anyone here know more than what's written here? Got it, Christine?
My mouth is full. So right now, he's going through the process of suggesting locations where there should be flexible loading zones throughout the downtown area. And he'll be presenting that to community members and ideally commissioners just to weigh in, make sure his proposals are in conjunction with public.
Does that,
Or we best serve them.
does that impact?
I mean, I can volunteer for that liaison.
I don't need to put you on the spot.
No.
You hate delivery, so I thought, like,
Yeah.
care
Yeah,
for having.
all of ours are in an alleyway, but sure.
Yeah, yours have been routed behind.
Well, if it doesn't fit out or it's easy, you know, and you want to ask for more responsibilities and timing and stuff, I totally understand that too.
Do that.
This also includes PNCs like Uber and Lyft
Yeah,
as well.
which
That's,
does affect our folks.
Yes.
and since they stop the North Broadway.
Yep, so that's the intent is to prevent some of the traffic backups that we've seen from TNCs just stopping at random places and encourage better behavior. Chris Hagelin during the KMC mentioned that there's some geofencing that they can do to really help with the Uber and Lyft drop-offs. And from what we've heard, the reception from Uber and Lyft is that they really, even the drivers really like it because it gives them a little bit more safe security as well.
I feel like we were told about the geofencing, I think, a year ago.
We did pilot it.
Yeah, that
as
didn't
part of the
pan out?
curbside management project.
Or did we just do it on Pearl Street?
Just piloted it downtown,
Okay,
that's my understanding, and now I think that was informing sort of the recommendation and the adoption of the curbside management program. Now they're actually implementing the recommendations, so I think it's, I can't speak for Chris Hagelin, but I can say that they're likely trying to determine a permanent approach to it.
okay.
One other question I had on the consent agenda, talked about that outdoor dining program going to a proposed permanent program. And I didn't know if that, how does that look different, moving from a temporary to a permanent program?
You got, how does that work?
Yeah, what's different with it being a permanent program? Is there still annual licensing and payments and stuff, or is there, you know, what's, other than it's permanent, they can count on it happening every year is the big difference?
Yeah, essentially, yeah, it would be on, I think that's the thing, but I think council approval, so we work with other city departments to see logistically if anything didn't change and, evaluate the program and bring our recommendation to council like they try to make it more permanent.
Well, you're not doing the budget right now, but one thing I have wondered is where does the payments for that go? Does that go to the DFC's budget or whose budget gets the payments?
It goes to the planning department, they pay revocable permit fees, that's the thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
Which is general fund revenue.
Awesome, thanks, Chris. Anything else on the consent agenda? Moving on to Placer AI agent visitation reports. Not discussed unless there's questions. Any questions?
Trends.
Hearing none. Moving on, right on to. Dr. Redford.
Hey, guys, thanks for having us again. My name's Steve Redfern, police chief. I think I know everybody for the most part. I'm gonna just say a couple things and turn over to Mike for more, a little bit more robust info on what some things we're doing. Obviously, since we met last, there's been a lot going on. The month of June for us was almost solely focused, the first at least half on recovering from and working on the case for the terrorist attack. We've really been focused, and Mike can tell you more about having more presence down here. We're doing really well staffing. I think I shared last time, but we're still essentially fully staffed. We've got about 25 officers in training that are not certified to be out there by themselves yet. So even though we're fully staffed, working on getting them trained and out there, where then we're gonna see where we need to deploy them, where additional resources, the mall is obviously a priority. Had a lot of discussion after the attack, and what I've continued to explain to people is, we can have a cop on every corner, and it's not going to stop every bad thing from happening, and there was some. It wasn't mean spirited, but there were some discussions, and we got beat up a little bit for, not being right there when it happened, and we had officers on foot on the mall that day. They were actually dealing with another issue, so it's one of those things that we're very aware of the need to have additional resources here. Mike's been really working hard to do that. I hope you've seen that. We had the guy doing the chain attack. I'm happy to say he is still in custody on a $200,000 bond. We had some concerns based on some of the recent decisions the judges have made that some people would like him to get let out. The guy that attacked the performer is still in custody as well. So we're working with the DA's office when those serious things pop up to make sure people are held, or at least asked. The good thing for us is, even though I think perception of crime and perception of safety and actual data are two different things. I got updates yesterday from our data analyst, and we are down in every crime category year to date this year, citywide, compared to last year. And so that is exceptional, especially in summertime when we see crime always tend to rise. And year to date, compared to last year, we're down double digits in a lot of things like burglaries, car theft from auto, assaults. We ended the year pretty high on assaults, especially more of the simple assaults. That is also down now year to date. Everything is down. So I credit a lot of that to the officers getting out, being more visible on bikes, on foot. But I also credit it to some of the technology that we're using to catch bad guys, and it's making a difference. So we're still constantly trying to address that fear of crime as well. And of course, I encourage people not to read everything they read on Nextdoor or believe everything they read on Nextdoor or other social media sites. And I will always continue to, it's an open invitation to any of you all, to all the business owners. You can reach out to me 24/7. By the time things tend to get around, a lot of times, the actual facts have gotten to a point where they're not real facts anymore, and we're always happy to engage and hopefully bring down the temperature on things. So that's really what I wanted to just say is, thank you for the patience the last month or so while we've been dealing with quite a bit. My big focus has been ensuring, as we've worked past June and taken care of our staff, ensuring that the things that they dealt with on June 1st, which nobody really should have to experience, they're doing okay, and I'm happy to report that they are. That guy's is in court today, it's held over for trial, and that case is just gonna move forward. So other than that, I'll turn over to Mike, and then we can take up questions at this time.
Thanks, chief.
Thanks.
I think everybody knows me, but in case not, I'm Mikey, I'm a patrol commander and I also oversee the mall team. So one, the unfortunate news is Sergeant Scable, who I think a lot of you may have met. We just put him into the mall sergeant's position at the beginning of the year. That was that newly created position. He has moved on, so he has family back in Minnesota and he's moved on to there. The good news is we didn't, and we're not skipping a beat with that position. So we have already done a transfer. Right now, it's a temporary transfer to, for Sergeant Brian Capobianco. He was actually also involved in the process for the mall sergeant. He was a real close second on that. He's gonna be a great addition, but we recognized how we just couldn't have that gap. And so we put him in that position until we can do a formal process for that position. We've also had a little bit of movement on the officers, but again, we have filled those immediately. So, in particular, Officer Stidel, who's been working down on the mall for quite some time, has kind of moved into another role with us. But we have replaced that and we are still at our authorized strength for mall positions at 6. Those dates that they're working, the times that they're working are all consistent with what they have been. So we did recognize that we needed to fill those spots and we needed to fill them immediately. Everybody that's on that team is great. In fact, Officer Mastriona just got put on the team. He was the officer that took the suspect on the pro attack into custody. He is a new SWAT officer, great addition to the team. So wanted to cover all those bases. We've also had some conversations with our other patrol commanders. They have been increasing patrols. So I know some of the issues that have come up, or the concern is, it's great, we've got our mall team that is only here now up until 7 p.m. And we're missing some of that, not maybe seeing enough officers in the nighttime. So they've been pushing that out to our patrol staff. As of right now, you should be seeing a lot more presence in the evenings. If you're not, please let me know, but I trust that you're gonna be seeing a lot more officers in the evenings. Once we get up to, like the chief said, those officers that are in training, we can start building up some of our other units. So the neighborhood impact team, I was the sergeant of that years ago. We had up to 12 officers. Right now, we only have 4 officers on that team. But part of what we did in the evenings is we provided those patrols downtown as well. So that is a priority for us to get some more of those spots filled. That will also help reduce the need to put some of our patrol officers down. So any questions on any of that? So one of the things that I also wanted to talk to you all about, Chief mentioned the 2 cases that we had recently. I just kind of want to talk to you guys about how we respond to some of these things. In particular, the person that was committing all the assaults with the chain throughout the city, downtown. We recognize that very quickly, that this was something that we need to get it on immediately. We put a ton of resources to that, including our motors officers and our bike officers on the creek paths, because that's how he was getting around on bicycle. We had drones up. We did everything in our power to put that person into custody as soon as possible. Fortunately, that stopped the attacks once we got out on it. And then we were able to take him into custody the next day. But that's the type of response that you're getting. We also made sure that we pushed people downtown, so we're not just leaving downtown open for that person to come back around, because I think a lot of you probably saw, he was assaulting people down at Safeway, like he was making his way around town pretty quickly. But those are the programs that we have in place are to be able to respond to those. So again, that drone program, that bike program, our motors program, everybody's getting involved in cases like that. Like the chief said, those parties are still being held. There's the $200,000 bond. The other party is being held on a $10,000 bond. So considering some of the things that we've seen in the past, those are good things. It's a testament to, I think, the chief working directly with the DA's office and making sure that we have good communication and we're not seeing these people just get released. Any questions on any of those cases or any other cases?
I have a question.
Yes.
So for the June first attack, there was like, it happened around 2 p.m., I believe, and then it wasn't until 4 p.m. that officers came and evacuated the mall and like that's like within, like I got the reverse 911 call at the same time the officer came in. Is there something I can sign up for to find out about things like that sooner? Or is there a reason there was a 2-hour delay, or is it simply just like you guys were so occupied?
I think that there's a lot of different factors, right? There's a lot of like the unknown and people getting there and responding in and trying to figure out what we had. We didn't know a lot of the details that we knew that prompted us to make those evacuations. So part of that was, oh, this person's got a vehicle. Oh, now we found this vehicle. The vehicle is downtown. Now it's getting to a point where we feel like there's a potential threat here. So we're constantly assessing, reassessing. And I know, especially now we're talking about that, it's like, oh, that is a long time. When we're working through all of those things, it's not, it is, as soon as we made a determination that we had potential other threats, and we're working with Bomb Squad and our other partners, once we found that vehicle to determine, okay, if there's an issue here, what does that look like? How far out? What kind of evacuations do we need to do? We're pushing that out as soon as possible. I know there were some things that were done on a smaller footprint initially for evacuations. Where were
I'm on
you?
the 1100 block.
So, yeah, we did some immediate area evacuations, and then based on kind of everything else that we were putting together, it was determined, well, let's just extend this out until we have a better sense of what's happening. So.
I just heard about the, need a cop, walk with a cop on the mall kind of thing. I think it's July 23rd.
July 23rd. Yep.
Yeah, Justice, you want to talk about that just so that other people know about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, it was an idea that I had a couple months ago. And it was something that I was trying to figure out, all right, what's the best way to do this? Started talking to the chief and to our PIO. Basically it is, I want to get out there. I want the community to be able to come speak with me, get introduced to myself and to other members of the police department. So, this first one we're doing with Sergeant Capobianco to get people to know him, ask questions, just a better way to connect with the community. So at some point, should have the chief down there with me. We'll see how it goes. Like I said, it was kind of something that I've been mulling over, and I got to a point, it's like, we need to make this happen. And so got Dion to put that together for me.
When it's the 23rd.
It's the 23rd from, it's not there, so I should know. 1 to 3. Thank you. 1 to 3. I don't know how often I'll do it. My goal is, I'd like to do it a couple of times a month. It'll kind of depend on the response that we get. We'll see how it goes, but you guys can put it out there and encourage people to come. I would appreciate it.
Where are you meeting?
We're gonna meet at 1300 block.
Kind of like a visitor center, if I recall.
Yeah, we'll probably congregate there. Just look for the big guy in a uniform. So. What else? What else can I answer for you guys?
Thanks for filling in the positions.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we knew that we couldn't let those fall short, so. It was It's a pretty easy decision by everybody involved. So. All righty, well, thanks, everybody, appreciate your time.
Speeding right along, Bettina, the floor is yours.
Right, wonderful. I'm gonna see if I can share my screen here, so. Bear with me while I figure that out. I also just want to echo, now that they're not in the room, I can't give them the credit, but we had a meeting today with one of our block captains, two of our block captains and our block officers who are block. And Officer Badley was there, we had about 12 businesses there. Just a really nice conversation about how things are going downtown. One of the things Officer Badley said is that the mall positions are actually really sort of coveted within the department. It's a fun, lively place to be in, stuck in the car all the time. And so it's kind of cool to see them work their way up through the academy and then work with each other. And it's also a 5-year position, which I didn't know. Maybe that's. I was talking and I wasn't sharing my screen. Sorry. Yeah, I'm trying to. Okay, so, as the chief said, we spent a lot of time last couple of months really dealing with the after effects of the attack. I'm pleased to say that one of our big accomplishments as an organization is we moved into a new office space after being in the same office for more than 20 years. So that also took up a lot of our managerial administrative time. On the pedestrian counts, which I shared in your packet, I'd love to spend some time, and Elliot has now left the room, to talk about the intersection between the data that we're gathering from our pedestrian count cameras and what we're seeing in Placer AI. Because Placer AI is showing things pretty consistent overall. And our pedestrian cameras, which we have 3 located throughout downtown, are showing about 7% down May and June. So that was just a piece of sort of data analysis I'd like to figure out moving forward. But I do still think it's important for us to have both of those pieces, because we're actually capturing the pedestrian impressions and Placer data is attached to people's cell phones. I also wanted to just share with you that we have been tracking the new numbers of businesses in the downtown. And so far in 2025, we've had 22 new businesses open, which is really great. Everything from a tattoo shop to a florist, to a hairstylist, to a bakery, and a really new fancy cocktail bar. So we're seeing a lot of different kinds of services, not just being saturated by one kind of business. And the number of new businesses dramatically outpaces the number of closed businesses. So we saw 13 leave the downtown. We don't know if that means they went out of business completely or if they went to another location. Some of these were national chains that were dictated, like Billabong and Volcon. Those were they shut down all of their nationwide retail stores. So some of these things are within our control and some of them aren't, but I thought that would be helpful data for you all to see here today. Our marketing campaign continues this year, the Heart of Boulder. We did really pause a lot of our promotions after the June 1st attack. We certainly didn't want to be coming across as tone deaf, and we had a lot of different campaigns running. So we were able to start those back up again about the 2nd or 3rd week of June. We're getting really good traction with that. We also have been working behind the scenes with our restaurant community, who has been affected a lot this past year by a variety of things. Higher inventory costs, minimum wage challenges, the economy writ large. And so we worked with a contractor and a newly formed restaurant task force that was put together that's not just downtown restaurants, but really citywide, trying to create an identity and some advocacy platforms around the restaurant. And we published a restaurant playbook, which is available to anybody who's part of this restaurant task force or is a downtown business. So that's just another sort of thing that we can, it's another arrow in the quiver when somebody arrives in town. So here's a way that the Business Improvement District and TPP are helping you. This is just a chart of some of our flow of traffic. I'm gonna be on KBDR tomorrow morning. Going to Wall Street Arts Fest, this is my prop that I will have on screen. But we also have a lot of Bus Kings running, so you'll probably see the ads on the buses going around town. This is just an example of a print ad. We're taking out print ads in a number of different magazines and some of the program books like the Colorado Shakespeare Festival, Music Festival. We're really targeting women between the ages of 40 and 65, not because that's my demographic, but because they're the people who spend the most money and make the decisions about what people do in their families and the spare time. So that's been really successful this year. And as usual, all of the models that you see in these ads are people who actually live or work downtown. Just another example of some of our campaigns that we've had going. And then we're collaborating with Downtown Colorado Inc., our statewide advocacy organization. All of the business improvement districts in Denver, and there are many, have formed a little mini Denver bid coalition. And we're going to be giving a sort of half-day presentation about how to provide stronger, safer collaborations for business improvement districts. And Terry from our team has put together a panel where we're going to talk about our really strong collaboration between the city of Boulder and the Boulder Business Improvement District. So from the past, it'll be Sean Maher, who was one of my predecessors, and Lee Landreth, who recently retired from Community Vitality. And then Chris and I will be talking about the current collaboration and the work that we've been able to do through the ambassador program, through event sponsorship, through banners, and all of the other things that we collaborate on. So the commissioners are invited to join this if you'd like. Just you can register through by contacting me. Get you in there. Our Bands on the Bricks series has been going great. We have 3 more weeks. This Wednesday, we will have Los Mojojetes. They're a really fun band, and they're going to be opened up by a really talented classical flamenco guitar player. So should be very fun. Right before that, we're also going to have our Office Olympics now called the Downtown Showdown in front of the courthouse. So we have 7 teams participating, and I believe Community Vitality. The vital fighters.
My company had to bow out because we have a video shoot the next day, the load in, so half of our team is.
You were the purple people?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, bummer. Well, next year. But we've had some really great engagement. We had a member appreciation night last week, CU night, the 25th, and we're just having some great success with our band series this year. So 3 more chances to enjoy that. We've also had some great success with sort of a guerrilla marketing campaign. So in addition to those Bands on the Bricks general posters, we've been really highlighting the fact that this is a free show every week, trying to highlight the individual personality of each band that's playing. And that's helped a lot too. I think we're getting a little bit of a different crowd that maybe don't know what Bands on the Bricks is, but they might understand free show and think that band looks good or know their audience. And then we also have the Pearl Street Arts Fest coming up, which I think I may have neglected putting in here. I'm astonished and shocked and appalled at my behavior, but we had set my apology. But the Pearl Street Arts Fest is this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So you can expect that 14th will be closed between Canyon and Walnut, in addition to having about 111 different artists all set up tents and booths around the downtown. We have 21 different states represented this year, so a lot of people will come from far away to attend and show their wares, and we'll have arts activities with the Mobile Arts Lab as well, who open studios. So that's quite a bit of a heavy lift, but we're looking forward to that this weekend. And on the ambassador side, I included in your packet our second quarter report, so I won't go over that in great details, because you can take that and look at it on your own time. But we're working with our team and also with Christine and her team to make sure that we're accurately tracking what is actually happening and the vocabulary that we're using to talk about things. So an ATLV block face, what does that mean? That's the giant Snuffleupagus gutter cleaner thing that we have. Snuffleupagus is not the technical term, sadly. That's what I call it, but that's what an ETLP is. That's been a great tool. We can't get it out there every day. It's kind of weather dependent. Can't put it out when it's subsidized, but it's been a great thing. We have been really focusing getting our team aligned on what is actually an outreach conversation and what is a hospitality conversation. Just smiling at somebody does not equal with hospitality contact, but saying, hey, are you looking for a place to eat, or would you like a suggestion for something to do this week? That's actually a hospitality contact. The Tebow train has had almost 1,400 riders. That's of course a great thing that we have for the kiddos Monday through Friday. And they've been really trying to weed as much as they can with the rain in June or the peak weeding season. And as you can see, it's pretty hard to weed over these 3 grades. So I don't think you can hear the 4-letter words that are coming out of that ambassador. But really doing a great job, and also working with the forestry team to remove some of the small suckers on the trees that cause real problems for those trees later on. We're also getting out the Mega Brute, which is this rolling trash can thing, which is great because it gets out the phone number and the logo for the program and it's full about what it is. We've got the East End planters thriving and flourishing because we water them. And then a team is of course helping out with Bands on the Bricks and setting up the stage every week for Bands on the Bricks. And that concludes my report. Any questions?
Oh, speaking of trash, I mean, this might be in a different aspect, but I saw that the hill has different trash receptacles. Is that coming downtown as well?
Those are not inexpensive, so with current budget considerations, we are looking at how to integrate that into downtown. So TBD, and it is going to be in my slideshow later. Thanks for taking all my glory. I didn't get to show you pictures.
They're called Big Belly.
They are.
Not Big Belly. And now.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Just very sympathetic to all the stuff that happened downtown, just effort that you do need to promote everything and then. Big things happen.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, it's been really wonderful to see the community come together. It's. Thank you.
So, speeding right along, we're doing on time tonight. Matters for staff, garage wayfinding signage.
Yeah, I think Sam, are you ready for this?
I am ready, believe I need to be voted. Sure, that's right. I'm saying, what did I do?
I'll agree with Sam. So I'll have a short presentation on this and get into a little bit of the capital improvements that we had. We'll finish with a short presentation as well.
My screen's going black like this.
No, the continues to be awkward technical, that's helpful. Technology.
You can speak on the business.
I'm very good at it.
Was that presentation very fine next to my class? I was starting there. There you go.
This is where I went wrong.
Just takes a second for the screen to catch up. There you go.
All right, cool. downtown garage wayfinding. Here we are, all together, and my screen is working. Apologies for the delay. So this will be very short and sweet. Just wanted to talk to you about some of the signage that is directing folks to find the downtown garages. These are our current wayfinding signs that we have in place. As you can see, they've kind of been added to over the years. They're kind of in funky locations as well. Since these have gone up over the years, traffic patterns have changed. People are coming in through different routes. And so we're hoping to do kind of a minor overhaul of the existing wayfinding signage so that people can really easily find the garages, and they can find information for where they can find the garages in very strategic locations based on where people are actually traveling. Because we do have some of that really awesome data from our transportation. So since we have this opportunity, we thought we would check in with our commissioners here today and see what your thoughts are about the look of the signage specifically. So that's what we're looking for, is kind of what the future is going to be. Like I said, it's a minor overhaul, so we'll probably have an opportunity in the future to maybe do it again with a more comprehensive project, but this is just, in the meantime, we can make it better than it is today. So here are a couple of options that I've mocked up for you. We don't have to go with any of these options. As you can see, one of the options on the left, which has number 1, that's existing signage that is already on Broadway that looks really nice and is in really good shape. But we've got other options too for you to consider. So this is just an opportunity for you to give me some feedback on just the design elements that you like. And these can be customized and changed. I'm just looking for that feedback. So I'll go to the last slide, which is my questions for the DMC, which is, do you have any questions about what we're proposing to do? And then do you have any feedback on the sign design options?
Can you go back to a slide?
Yes, that's absolutely.
So I don't. That last one I think is too simple. I don't know why. But. Besides the actual design of it, are we getting these in reflective signage? Like I feel like that helps things pop out from all the signs that are on the streets and the greenery in the summer, things like that. Anything that kind of catches the eye. I do feel like the light up signs on the garages have been a good thing, especially when they're just things that are happening around town. So I think anything that helps catch the eye. So if there are options to get these in the reflective signage, or at least reflective borders and things like that, that would be great. So as far as the look, I think the middle one, saying parking explicit, will just spell out literally for people to understand.
Yeah.
I like the custom one. I like that it says Pearl Street Mall, because I think I lived in Santa Barbara and we have a similar thing to Pearl Street where like there's an industrial part of it and there's an actual, and it's, and you can do a lot of research and it's hard to sort of figure out like, but where do I like really want to be? And so I don't know, I think maybe it makes people feel like they're in the right spot. I don't know if it's like too much street, but I can see the word parking and the key with the circles pretty good, but. And you already have it. That's a plus.
I mean, even if there's a combination of like Pearl Street Mall parking, signage around the corner that says park.
Right. The one on the right looks like.
It could be for the church, it could be for anything, we don't know
Right.
what it's for, it
Right.
doesn't know what's for. I like the one because it builds the branding and helps reinforce while you're here. The second one, same kind of thing as a. For something else, not for. For this. So do we have to pay more to get more signs than under number 1, or are we just keeping the signs we have and we're good?
The signs, we'll keep the one, if you decide that number one is sort of like the direction you wanna go, we'll keep the ones that we have, there's only two of these. On Broadway, and so then we'll have to produce more. To fill in the gaps around the rest of the downtown, it's not a huge amount of signs. But the custom design will be slightly more expensive, but it's still like, it's not. It's pretty nominal to replace signs, it's not like a huge undertaking financially. Yeah, I mean, it'll be less than $10,000, it might be. It'll probably be less than $1,000, but I don't have the quote, I kind of need the design to get the quote first, but it's not gonna make a huge budget impact.
If there were minor variations, I might make them bigger on it before we print a whole bunch of them, just to make the parking part more obvious.
Just like the P in the circle bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know I'm not a commissioner, but I just wanna point out the number one, if you continue to go on the custom route, that is our old logo, the downtown folder. So we would want to do that. How do we feel about that top logo part, because the alternative is. This just the bottom square.
With Pearl Street Mall parking.
Oh,
Yeah, with Pearl Street Mall parking on it, but I think the branding is really nice. I mean,
branding's nice, but it's also more information that people are supposed to read at 30 miles per hour.
it's
So,
true. Yeah.
I think simpler works better in this case as far as road signs go. Maybe a concentrated effort to say that it's for Pearl Street Mall parking around the Pearl Street Mall, which is what we're talking about. So,
Yeah, or maybe if it's like downtown / Pearl Street. And these people are gonna want that they're also downtown. It's hard when you know where everything is, it's hard to imagine not knowing.
People, they're coming to the mall generally.
Yeah.
I do like the branding because they saw it on an ad or something like that, it helps again, you're going to the right place.
And so another, just something I'll just throw out there for you to consider is like, if you see number 2, the hybrid. On the bottom, there's like a circle and that is a city's logo, so we could put like a City of Boulder logo. Into the sign somewhere as well, if that's desirable, but or we could go with the downtown Boulder logo, I mean, there's options here.
Yeah, we're not competing a ton with other companies for parking, so I don't know that to say that
Sounds like a sticker
it's for us.
wasn't supposed to be,
If it was a matter of like making people use our parking
right?
versus other options, that would be something, but like, there really aren't too many outside of us, especially in the downtown area.
I guess I just countered that like. If it says Pearl Street Mall parking, that's fine. Cause that kind of gives you, it's not for the business that's right there.
That's great.
Um,
I don't know, I just think about like Denver or bigger cities, like there's, aside from a few. Standalone garages, a lot of, they just say parking on the side of it, right? That's a place to park, and I never twice about which one to use. But since we're all kind of, we're homogenizing our systems that we're using, and it's all done for mobile and stuff anyway, as long as people know this is a place to park. I think anything that'll catch their eye and bring them into that should help.
I guess the reason I like the branding is that, you need to make Boulder feel special versus just parking garage. Yeah, it adds like it's kind of like when there's that sign outside Walnut before you go into that neighborhood. It's got like a little neighborhood sign and stuff like that. It just makes it feel, I don't know, homier. A little more special than just parking. But you've heard people.
I've heard some feedback. On the board, we're getting some knockouts. Thank you for your.
Thanks, Sam.
Nice.
Dive right in.
Yeah, let's see if I can make the transition. With the level of pickups, I don't know. Yeah, about the author. Adding. Oh. Come on. Do it. All right. So I'm really excited. I think last year about this time came down and gave a presentation of the work that the team's been running in the downtown garages and in the area. They were cranking this year, and all of it may not have been huge and flashy and glamorous, but there was a ton of work that was done on your behalf in the downtown area. So I just wanted to take you on a before and after tour of lots of stuff. So that we can kind of talk through what's going on. So, you can do it? Come on. All right. As we all know, we are here on behalf of Cajun. This is a founding ordinance, and I just highlighted that it's all about parking, which is why the majority of our efforts and energy is spent on parking garages, because that is what we were here to do. And this is just a quick map to show you generally where the parking is. This is more for folks in the community later. I know you all know these things. So, you all know about the spruce lot. We did some tree trimming in the area. I'm sure you all heard this year we had, or a few years ago, there was a young child who was killed by a fallen tree branch in Boulder. And so it's just, as a mom, something that I think about, and as a person who has a parking lot with old trees, to make sure that these are well cared for. So we took the time to make sure that they were well trimmed and groomed. We did a lot of work at the 1100 Spruce Garage. So again, when I say that what we're doing is not big and flashy, it's because we're working on things like in the bottom right-hand corner, you can see that we had to fix the elevator. So that metal in the picture on the left-hand side, that metal column is supporting the elevator shaft. And you don't want concrete crumbling under an elevator shaft. So we went in, we had to pull out all the failing concrete, make sure that the rebar and all the metal inside of that was super strong, put some stuff on it to make sure that it lasts for a long time, reinstall concrete, and shore that up. Other stuff that we worked on was the stair deck, which I'll take you through next. We did a lot of the administrative work for the CMGC, the Construction Management General Contractor project that we're going to be doing. And the administrative burden is not insignificant, that's what I shall say. So the team has been cranking on that, doing an amazing job, doing facility assessments so that we prioritize the work that's being done in the garages so that we are using the dollars to their highest and best use. We also make sure to install, as I've mentioned before, water is our enemy. So anytime water gets on concrete's like a sponge and absorbs it, and then when it freezes and melts, it just continues to crack. So we have to make sure to manage water all the time. So we made sure to put gutters on the solar panels. Again, not exciting stuff, but super important. We put heat lamps at the entrances because we were getting these giant frozen puddles at the entrances of our garages. So we're trying to battle that, as well as landscaping. We want to take you on a quick tour of when we say the spruce garage deck replacement. On the left-hand side, you can kind of see that there's a tiny little bow and maybe the railing is like kind of leaning out a little bit. So we fixed it, we spent a bunch of money to make it look like the picture on the right, which doesn't seem like a big deal until you start realizing that the reason it's bowing is because the steel I-beam on the inside was deteriorating to a place that it was not supporting those lengths anymore. We had to remove 8 inches of that I-beam and re-weld an I-beam on there. And then you can see in this picture, all of that steel was corroded and deteriorated to a point that it was not ideal. This is one of our highest use garages, right? So we had to pull all that out. We had to install epoxy to make sure that the new steel that we're putting in is going to be protected from the elements moving forward. Had to reinstall the structural rebar. And then once you look at all of those pictures, this suddenly seems like a much more important project that we've done. Again, we were doing little things to try to make it seem nice downtown. So those barren areas, we're installing mulch. I don't know if you remember this work on the landscaping, there were those giant bushes as you were coming on Spruce and taking a left onto 11th Street. Those bushes were a hazard. Nobody could see around them. You couldn't see cars exiting the garage. So our team came in and they installed all of this landscaping to make sure that they're low profile, that it looks nicer. It's just a cleaner and more inviting feel for our highest use garage. But we still have challenges, like work in progress. We've got a lot of erosion, like I mentioned, and showed pictures of. We've had to block off that little walkway, which is on the north side of the building, because people should not be walking there. Don't duck whatever fencing we have, please don't walk there. We're also going through and doing, in our process, we were looking at security assessments, which talks about painting. It turns out having light colored paint and lots of lights in garages makes people feel better. But also we need to make sure that the doors are working, the keys are working, and how do you manage access throughout the buildings? We're working to install cell phone repeaters in certain garages. That is an expensive project. So if I've mentioned it on another garage, that may or may not happen there. We're looking at the St. Julian garage, since it's totally underground, as well as the Spruce garage, since it's our highest utilized and has basement access issues, as well as we will be power washing. We will be power washing on the 31st. So it turns out all the dirt and nastiness and grime shouldn't be there. And so we've been working to power wash our garages, and then when that happens, it gets stuck in the drain, and then you have to dump the drain. So it's a process. We've got a few years of work to catch up on, but we're also working on the CMGC and making sure that we have as-built of the building, so that we can create the schematic design, so that we can actually price and permit and get construction moving. So, any questions on that? 1500 Pearl, I don't know if you guys noticed, we were trying to make some updates on this building as well. All of our facilities are aging, they're getting older. You know, like this is one of my favorite before and afters. I wish it was bigger for you guys so you could really see it, but it was rusted and not attractive. So we were able to replace all that. We're starting to remove rust or treat rust throughout the building. We now have working HVAC in this building. That was a 3-year endeavor. That was rough. We also had to make sure that the boilers work the way it needs to. So again, this is not really exciting stuff, but super important when it comes to maintaining the assets that we have. Gutters, we had to replace the fire panel here. Those are things you don't want going out. And again, assessments to make sure the facility stays, or we're addressing what needs to be done. Facility. We had a fleet full of electric vehicles that didn't have access to charging, so Elliot's helped to get charging for the fleet, which is very exciting. Here are pictures of them them lifting, and we had 24 of these units on our roof that had to be installed. And the old ones had to be removed, and of course it happened during a snowstorm. That's why I wouldn't think of that. So now we've got these beautiful, I know I'm dirty, but we've got these beautiful rooftop units, which is fantastic. You have to make sure that people don't trip over things. So we're making sure to highlight that. No, you guys saw this downstairs, isn't it beautiful?
So, oh my goodness.
So, she has been clearly putting arts, we're trying to pair the non-exciting work with investments in the arts and making these buildings someplace you actually want to go, and make it easier to wayfind throughout downtown. Like, oh yeah, I need to be at the parking garage box. I know where I'm going now, right? Like it's exciting that we're starting to make these sorts of.
Do you do that through Streetwise, or do it just the city of Stewart on its own?
This one was public art, so we've been partnering with the public art team, and they were able to go through the selection process and bring the best. So the arts, it's really nice to have the arts team working with the maintenance team and kind of blending those together. It's been an interesting compliment. So super excited about that. And we'll have more of this art in our front customer service area, so that people get to enjoy it when they come in to visit a public building. But it still has challenges. Those are structural metal plates. So again, don't duck any barriers up there. So we're gonna have to replace the stair decks on floors 4 through 6 in this building, because they, especially this main one, are falling apart, and our engineer says, do not walk there. Just not. We've got
So they can't cut too far.
close, why? Don't go there. Facade replacement, we want to make these buildings look nice, and the lead time is very. So we need to start this work now to make sure that these buildings look nice when Sundance does final. Because we recognize that we do manage a number of city blocks, and therefore we have an impact on us. Again, cell phone repeaters, CMGC work, any questions on 15 minutes?
I don't know, it's like some spots.
Yep, so our team is working really hard and we finally have a really solid capital improvements team and a fully staffed maintenance team. It was not the case when I first got here, to have these teams working together and pulling in the same direction. You can actually feel movement in what's being done. So it's been exhilarating to be a part of it, even if it's not always the super bright shiny stuff. So, or at RTD, we were working really hard to make sure that things were power washed and painted, and we were doing upgrades to the RTD bike shelter, which I'll show you in a minute, adding gutters. So this one on the right shows that we have to move, I know it's 4, but you have to move the water not onto the parking deck, because we paid lots of money for that traffic code, right? We don't want to put solvents onto, which water is the solvent onto a traffic code. You want to move it down off of the building entirely. So if you install gutters, the length of that building, which didn't exist before, it used to just be full up there. So we were able to work with RTD to get new cameras installed in that bike shelter, and make sure that we are providing a safer experience. Because we know that access is not just because we want people feel comfortable downtown on their bikes as well. I didn't have a before picture, but the after of painted walls in here was delightful. For anybody who tried to do that, we're also going to be taking on the landscaping. So our maintenance team in September is going to take on the landscaping on the south side of that building, or on the south and north sides, and try to make that look as nice as the garage. That's the best. As well as restripe these because those stripes, like the parking stalls, we're at. Any questions or concerns about RTD? All right.
Is there a split between us and RTD for costs?
No, we own the air rights and we own the parking garage. They own the terminal, like the actual bus station. We transportation and mobility and the county are responsible for the bike storage area. So that's a unique space. Technically, the county is responsible for the badging in and out system. We are responsible for the cleaning equipment. So that's something that we're kind of an onion we're peeling for figuring out how to pass into that space. The shared spaces are always organized. But yeah, we own the air rights of that building. See, Julian Garage, we stripped off the traffic code because we did a ton of work on the concrete last year and invested a ton of money on it or in it, and then you have to make sure to protect it with traffic codes and non-permeable membranes. So we did a lot of that, and it looked so nice. It looked so nice. So you can see that they were actually scrubbing off the old traffic code and then installing a new one. We did a lot of stairwell enhancements and safety assessments. We selected our architects, but this is just like before and after photos. Water on concrete that's on steel, not a great combination. So we had to go in that middle picture. You can see that we had to install bracing all the way down the center of the stairs, because if we were going to remove the stairs, it's very loud and that disrupts a 4-star hotel guest experience. So we have to navigate, if we have to thread that needle of trying to do this work, but it's not going to impact their business. So we were able to install that, make it secure. Our engineer has approved it, painted so that it looks like the before and after. it looked terrifying before, you know, it looks much better now, but this is a constant, can't just do it once and then think it's done. So, this is just an example of the striping and the pretty new traffic code that we have. That's what a cell phone repeater will look like at some point when we do get it installed. But we are trying to align our work with the St. Julian is looking to expand. So whenever they do start doing the construction, we're trying to keep that on top of that, so. Any questions about St. Julian so far?
What construction has yet to be done for, because
We will always have concrete in this garage that needs to be replaced. It will just be every single year, every 2 years, we will have to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars to do that. Because when cars come in off the street, especially in the winter times, when they're bringing in chloride and all sorts of nasty stuff on the bottom of the car, and then that just is delivered delivery system to our concrete, and then it soaks into the concrete, and the freezing and thawing, like I was mentioning, a lot of the chemicals degrades the concrete quickly. And we can't stop the damage that's already been done. We just have to constantly treat and prevent new damage from being done by maintaining these traffic codes, but we will be playing catch up throughout some different things that's going on. Aren't you glad you asked?
I figured.
Randolph Garage, we're doing a lot of traffic code because we've been doing a ton of concrete work in there over the past few years. Restriping, there will be painting coming up soon to make it feel a little less creepy. But we've also been taking on some extra stuff that's been out and about. So I don't know if you noticed, we've been replacing 250 bike racks throughout downtown, which is not easy. When our team first started, it was 12 wax per bolt in order to get those things installed. So there are 3 bolts or 6 bolts per rack. So the guys are, they figured out a way to make it easier, but we've also, again, been working with Arts in order to get, or with the Arts team to get art underneath the bike racks so that people recognize where they've been parking. We were able to work with 13 different departments and community organizations to install no overnight parking signs throughout the civic area lots. So that we are currently handing out flyers to people who may be staying in those lots or not using the lots as they are intended, to let them know that the rules have changed. And then PD plans to start enforcing these signs in the coming month or so. So we'll see if that has any impact.
It was accessed by like overnight campers, was thinking.
Yeah, it's similar to the signage that's up in all of the OSMP and parking lots, so that these lots are used as they are intended to visit these spaces for today. Yeah, so the only one that is different from the 11 to 5 is the Penfield tape lot, because the last thing we want to do is have somebody accidentally tow a person's vehicle if they're at city council meeting. It's not a great look, so we adjusted for that time, but hopefully we don't have any issues. We've also been installing outdoor dining, which those guys are having to hand fill those things. It was 3 tons of rock that goes into those flower beds, so they're sinks, repairing lighting. This is probably the thing that I'm most excited about. We were able to get the Wells Fargo block, all of the trees installed, and that took 4 different entities to make that happen. So we had to, yeah, it was great. I'm really excited about that one. There are the trash cans that we talked about. So those are installed throughout the hill. The hill clock always gets used and abused, but we were able to fix all of that stuff. We resurfaced the 14th Street lot up on the hill. And for the garage investment cadence, we're planning to do, because of the Spruce is our highest utilized garage, so we want to make the investments in there as soon as possible. But we also recognize that the St. Julian has a very particular time period with their expansion project that it would behoove us to partner and do our work at the same time. So we're planning to do both of those in 2026. In 27, it would be 1,500 Pearl, then RTD, and then Randolph. But all of this We all know that the city has a certain budget constraints right now, so all of this is dependent on the budget. What's going to the budget. So just some extra information about where we're at, who the partners are on these different CMGCs. But we're gonna continue to work on the capital improvements, preparing for big CMGCs and then evaluate the facility utilization, making sure that our assets are meeting these opportunities. That is the plan for now. Questions or concerns? You guys had a big impact on, I know it was a long presentation, but that was a lot of work that you all. Yeah. That, everybody was.
All right, got one more in you?
Yes.
Try to keep it brief. Actually, probably have to try. It is pretty brief, so we'll jump right in. So kind of coming back, looking at the budget information and where we are, where we're going, such like how it's kind of the second touch point we've had. We just submitted everything to the executive budget team within the city council, or sorry, within the city. And we're kind of waiting now to do what they say. So kind of what we're doing today is kind of going over that timeline, some high level information. This isn't really by fund yet, so it's not really specific to Paget's fund. As you all are concerned with DMC, your roles there, but more about all of community vitality and all of our programs. We'll get into some of the priorities that we're looking to focus on, and then also a little bit about what's changed in our budget this year. So the executive budget team, you guys probably recall from last year. Oh, Eric, are you here? No, this is your first budget season. So lucky. So the executive budget team is comprised of city management office, as well as HR and communications, and then a couple of floating directors, and then in addition to our central finance staff. So what they do is they look at all of the proposals across the entire organization, kind of see how they align with the city priorities, the strategic work plan, the set of goals, and help kind of make decisions, especially as we're in a area of the budget reduction process, how they best help prioritize enhancements. That then all gets finalized, pushed back to departments as a recommended budget that we put forward to city council. They'll get that presentation late August, early September, and then you all will be asked for support that we will then communicate to city council what your sense is on the proposed budget for Paget, and council will then make a move to pass that in September and then officiate in October. So what's changed a little bit? Our operating budget is looking to have a little bit of a decrease, mainly in part from the parking enforcement team. So they are moving from community vitality over to planning and development services. So that is a entire program that CB will be losing in addition to the budget. Parking enforcement operations will stay the same, but just reporting to a new department is really what it is. And it's a combining of all code enforcement type limited commission officers. So code compliance, code enforcement, parking enforcement, and limited commission officers for open space and mountain parks, as well as Parks and Rec, are all kind of being brought together under one area. So that's kind of where that's happening from. So that's one of the main reasons why we had such a big change in our operating budget.
Question, I thought you were talking about the GC level, but this is general fund level. But is this the budget then for CB here that we're looking at?
Correct, this is all community vitality budget.
Okay.
So that $24.9 million is every program across all of community vitality. Same thing with the operating, that 12.8 is all operating dollars for CB, and then the capital is just specific to CB. Pretty decent decrease with that move from parking enforcement, and then really where the number shines is that really large increase from 25 to 26 with our capital improvement plan. As you heard from Christine, we're really getting after our garages, really tackling a lot of these large projects. We're very well staffed now, we're very well resourced to actually start doing this work. So we're putting our money where our mouth is, so to speak, and you can see that in our budget, but you're also gonna start seeing that and not just we expect to spend, but what we actually spend. So not to harken too much on the emphasis of budget, but budget is just that, the projection, it's what we think. So always keep that in mind whenever you're hearing anything about any government budget, is it's what they expect to spend. So what we actually spend, hopefully will match very closely to that, because that means we've achieved everything we said we're trying to achieve. So the key service areas that we're really working here is asset management, looking at TDM investments, so transportation demand management, you'll see that in Boulder Junction. Continuing with public art, so you saw with other garages, but also throughout the community, especially with the 1% for public art, and then looking at the streetscapes and some vitality programs.
So is that reduction
Go ahead.
strictly just the loss of that one department, or is that also reduction due to budget issues?
So of that 1.3, 1.2-ish is just the move of enforcement. So the bulk of the reduction is just the move. And it's a reduction for us. It's not a reduction to the general fund, it's just a move from one department to another. So the general fund's not really saving that $1.2 million, it's just moving from one department to another. It shows up in our budget as a reduction.
And you have this many.
That's what.
Right now, is that what you asked?
Yeah, or like this 40% increase that we could sweeten it.
Yes, that's a great question. Yeah, so from what we call our fund balance, so basically our cash balance, if you will.
Okay.
Caged, and this 3.4 is not just Caged's increase in capital. It's a big portion of it. There's also an increase in Boulder Junction. There's also an increase in University Hill, although that's programmed out in the future years, as well as our CCRS portions for the 1% for public art. So it's multiple funding sources, a big bulk of it's Caged, but yes, we are programming money to the tune of staying positive in our cash balance, not going negative. So we don't anticipate any bonding needs right now, or any negative balances on the fund. Great questions. So looking at the 26 through 31 capital improvement plan. The CMGC is a bulk of our investment. So over those course of 5 years, 6 years, it's about $25 million that we're going to invest in our garages. Bulk of it is at Spruce and here at Pearl. We're also doing some investments at St. Julian and RTD and kind of TBD, sorry for all the acronyms, on Randolph and how we invest there. So thinking long-term, that's our oldest asset. It's showing its age and trying to understand our best use of those fund dollars for Randolph is something we really want to conceptualize before we start programming dollars there.
Does this proposed sale of the Spruce open lot happen, and how does that impact budgets of that, like say, sells?
Yeah, that's a great question. The proposed sale is still in talks. We're still, I think, finalizing our second letter of intent. Of course, if we do sell that lot, if and when we do sell that lot, that increases our availability of cash. Which I know Christine and team would say like, great, so we can do, instead of just this, we can do just this and that. Which some of the and that is a good reinvestment in these assets, so. One of the ways to prevent water intrusion into concrete is to prevent water coming into concrete, so. Think about all the exposed staircases that we have in our buildings as one example. If those were closed in, we'd have less water coming into those staircases, preventing a faster degradation of the concrete. So I would say that, yes, there's the Spruce lot that has potential of increasing available cash, but that doesn't mean that we would just return right to CMGC, and that's where we would do the investment. Part of that sale has some stipulations that may result in us having to come to the table with some money as well. So it's not a this for that kind of conversation. There's obviously more nuance to it.
If that sells, does it stay in Cajun fund or does it go to general fund?
Nope, it does stay in Cajun. So it is a Cajun owned asset. So the money would then go right back into Cajun for programming, whether it's for CMGC, whether it's for something like the mobility hubs, which is something we're going to be investing into as well. This year we were awarded a grant by Dr. Pod to study what mobility hubs would mean for these garages. So is it just parking that we can afford? Obviously, we have more than that in these garages now with the office spaces as well as the tenant spaces. But is there opportunities for the TNC with thinking about flexible loading zones? Is there ways that we could program places for Uber and Lyft to drop off in our garages and make it more, even more convenient for customers? Is there a way for us to have multi-mobility hubs for biking infrastructure, for scooter infrastructure, for any kind of thinking to transportation demand management options using these garages? So this year, we're studying that to figure out what the best use of those dollars could be. So the next few years, we're trying to program some money to be able to make that a realization. So rather than just study and say, great, here's the plan, let it sit on the table and collect dust, we're gonna be able to have some money to actually initiate those improvements. So that's what the mobility hub investment over the next 3 years will look like. Pearl Street Mall improvements. So this was actually the 25 through 30. CIP was on there as well. So just keeping that alive, looking at $3 million next year. It's a combination of Cajun doing an investment of $2 million and the Community Culture for Resiliency and Safety tax, investing $1 million into the Pearl Street Mall as well. And then this year we have some money set aside to do some assessments and figure out what that largest investment is that we can do and how best to get ready for the 50th anniversary.
Yeah, so is that? As we remember when we talked about like the plan, talking here about stuff that is the plan that we had for what downtown was gonna be. Oh, 3 million doesn't sound enough to do everything in that plan, so this would like kind of cherry pick a couple things off that plan, or is this more like upkeep and maintenance kind of style stuff?
More the upkeep and maintenance, more getting prepared that when we do have a big 50th event, that people come to the Pearl Street Mall and be like, oh, wow, it still looks great. Not, oh, it's completely changed and we've done a 16th Street Mall renovation. We've done more of a, let's make sure Pearl Street still looks good and has its character and culture, but doesn't look age ratty, right? Kind of like, let's make it look nice, is more what this money's gonna be used for. Thinking about the Hill, and its remaining assets, so the University Hill does still have, a surface lot up there. So we've done some studies and some analysis through our, ULI TAP grant. And they suggested some things, so now we're thinking about how do we program the remaining fund balance that UGA does have to look at redeveloping that 14th Street lot. That's a couple years into the future. In the meantime, we're talking about how we can increase the revenue there. So one of the things that we're going to be starting up on University Hill is a long-term parking permit option. Right now, it's solely transient parking, so we're looking at doing long-term parking to increase some additional revenue with that one asset.
It was launched yesterday.
It was launched yesterday, so literally happening as we speak. Some public art projects, so funding from CCRS dedicated to public art projects. This is in addition to the 1% for CIP. That is a little bit different than the CCRS stuff. So this is a little additive to that. And then I know Kyle, you were talking about the digital signs and how awesome they are to have downtown. We want to be able to extend that to Boulder Junction as well, and the parking garage that we have out there. So looking to do an investment for that nature out there.
Is there an update on RTE other than?
There is a quasi update, other than that, it's still happening. That's about as best as I could get out of the.
Last I heard, it was September, they're anticipating bringing RTE service back there.
Yep, and I do know that,
It won't be the same.
yeah, Well, and that being said, I don't know if you've been paying attention to they're not calling it, they're calling it, yeah, the diagonal flyer, I think is what they're marketing it as. There was just a recent survey, put out for residents to kind of talk about what route they would be taking. So they're looking at actually adding an additional route, which would serve more of the western side of Longmont. And that route specifically its hub would be Boulder Junction rather than downtown. I don't know if that's gonna be for sure. So that bus that would come down Hobart and capture most of the west side residents would actually come to Boulder via Boulder Junction and then also go to CU and then go back via Boulder Junction. Whereas the one that's on the east side of town going down Main Street would come to downtown. So if that were to happen, you're looking at even more people coming through Boulder Junction. Even more of a reason for them to stand up more services at Boulder Junction itself, so.
Because in the big picture, you know, we're dealing with transportation downtown as part of our mission. And how to get people from Boulder Junction to downtown so that they can work and shop and go eat and all that stuff.
Yep.
Right now, I really want to think of like a hop.
The hop, yeah, so the hop does still continually run Boulder Junction downtown. And that's the kind of the biggest plus right now that we have in the transit system.
What does parking revenue look like in that? parking garage?
It's there. It's not anywhere near like Cage it is, it's one garage. And it's all sumped, shared, unbundled, managed parking. So what that means is the garage we don't have dedicated parking spots for Boulder Junction General Improvement District. For the hotel or for RTD, it's all of these spaces are shared and they're not bundled. So everyone kind of shares the revenue that comes in through that. We do have some long-term permits that we sell there, and we do have some transient parking revenue that we receive as well.
We are gonna be converting that garage to an office in 3 months, so, Blue Properties, property manager, out there.
Yep. So that'll be nice for customers. It'll be
Yeah.
kind of a seamless. If they want to park here versus Boulder Junction, there's not a lot that they have to do other than pull in and their account will automatically handle the charges.
You know, do you have any thoughts about connecting Boulder Junction and downtown and, you know, if that bus station starts bringing in more people versus the downtown station? Do you have any, does downtown partnership have any thoughts?
I would say that we're definitely pro bringing people downtown, however they select to be brought by bus, bike, carrier pigeon, hang glider. Really all ways of
Gondola.
accessibility works for us. So yeah, I mean, we don't really have the bandwidth to engage in large scale transportation initiatives, but of course we would be supportive.
So the hub does like, if I remember, it does it clockwise and counterclockwise, so you don't have to go from Boulder Junction to like CU, you go from Boulder Junction downtown pretty quickly.
Yeah, I will say another big initiative that we're working on this year and are getting ready to produce an RFP, if not, is the commercial areas blueprint. Posted it yesterday. Everything happens. I'm so behind the curve. So yesterday we posted a RFP request for proposals for our commercial area blueprints. Which is looking at like, how do we connect all of these commercial areas, downtown, Boulder Junction, University Hill, 55th? Like, how do we get all these areas connected, make sure that, there's a good process going forward. So that is the process.
Great.
So some notable items for you all, as well as other commissioners, even though we're talking about budget reductions this year, we're not changing any of our essential services. So we really want to make sure that we have all of those essential services, such as managing the garages and investing in these garages. So that those investments then return into, actual revenue, that we can continue to maintain these and then provide more services. We want to make sure we're doing all of that on a regular basis. We recognize that during these budget reductions, how we best put that foot forward. So really addressing the deferred maintenance that we've had, but still supporting the public spaces, still supporting the public events and really thinking about safety in our districts as well. So what's next? So next week, EBT will be meeting with departments, us included, to discuss some of our proposals and any changes that we've had. Again, biggest proposals here are our capital plan and what changes. August 29th is the city council review. Those September meetings for all of our commissioners will be when we're asking for commission recommendations, whether there's support there that we can translate over to city council. Final budget adoption will be October 23rd. And of course, we're always looking for continued support from commissions.
So is there any issue getting all that money for the capital stuff, because that's already part of our. Well, it's already part of our budget, but our budget can change. Is there any issue with us getting that?
There is always an issue potentially with council saying no. As the board of directors for all the commissions, they really tend to lean on you all for support. So I would continue to ask for that support, or input, I should say, more so than support. So I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch, but I also am very optimistic when it comes to that. So I think that's kind of the approach we've always had, is cautiously optimistic. And, you know, I think the commissioners, the board of directors, city council recognize these assets as also very important to the health and the overall well-being of not just the fund, but to everything that happens downtown. Being able to bring people downtown directly relates to creating sales tax, which directly impacts the general fund. So there's a very strong connection between how these assets help bolster the rest of the city, not just the general improvement district. Any other questions or feedback? Okay,
So yeah,
I think that is everything we have from matters from staff.
well, we are. Rock rolling here. Any matters from commissioners that you would like to address?
I'm curious about the 50th anniversary. How do we get involved in that? How, does that look like?
Sure. Yeah, so we're looking ahead, the relationship that we have to compete with the city is going to be doing investments to improve the infrastructure and the functionality with that $3 million. Actually, our 501c3 DCI is going to be doing programming initiatives around that, so we're looking to do a couple of different things. We're also working right now to commission a logo that we'll be able to license to various businesses and use in our marketing. So Liberty Puzzles wants to do a commemorative puzzle. You know, somebody wants to do a commemorative jelly or honey or t-shirt, whatever, we can license that out. So that's in process right now. The main event's gonna be on August 7th, 2027. So we are a fair ways out, even in the event planning world. So that's kind of where we're gonna be focusing most of our attention. And we have our board of directors for DBCI, and then some volunteers from the community, including Bob Yates, who's kind of taking the lead on this. They'll be really doing a lot of the coordinating and efforts for the programming work. Another thing that we're thinking about doing, although we're trying to figure out the funding, is to do an update to Sylvia Cleven's book, Positively Pearl Street, which is an amazing book that came out at the 30th anniversary of the Pearl Street Mall. So we're talking to her about the possibility of doing an updated version with a new chapter for everything that's happened since then, including all of the developments on the West End, and some of the future ideas that come from the vision plan and also from the civic area budget. But it's all very, it's like not even dough yet, it's just still
Right.
ingredients. Not even ready to be put in the mold yet.
The vision plan. Doesn't have any budget to get it done, right?
Correct.
And it's probably not happening under this current economy situation. Is there thoughts and plans or hopes or desires or ideas to get any of it completed?
You know, so the vision plan was completed actually before I got here, and it's a really wonderful guidepost and kind of a North Star for us to look at when we're trying to think about future plans for what we would like to see, but as you rightfully say, if there's no fundraising targets, there's no identified funding, there's no capital improvement budget attached to it, so it's really more of a conceptual, and a guide for, like if somebody comes with a project that they want to do downtown, I often refer them to that so that they can see how it fits in with the overall.
Kind of like the comp plan for downtown.
Correct. But with less funding than the comp plan, so.
There you go. Well, our next meeting is September 9th. Which is 1 year and 11 months from the 50th anniversary. And. We adjourned, do I hear a second?
Second then.
Thank you.
You guys.
Thank you, guys.